Welcome to Sheffield Hopcast. I'm James, and this is our bank holiday special. So today we are, we've all picked out a bank holiday beer, and that's about as loose as we've left it. So there could be some interesting interpretations of what makes a bank holiday beer. As always, we're joined by a guest, but let's meet the crew first of all. And I am immediately drawn to Laura's hoodie choice this week. So let's go to Laura first. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, it's not the most subtle item of clothing, is it? But yes, my Brass Castle hoodie. It's got a big cat on the back as well. It's a Bad Kitty hoodie, which if you haven't tried it, is a really, really great chocolate and vanilla porter. But that is not the beer that I'm drinking today. I've gone for a Pomona Island, 7% Yuzu and Sorachi IPA. I'm going to be honest, I've picked this because I was originally going to drink the Pomona Island Kadama, which is a 2.8%, I think, Yuzu sour. But it was a kind of like orangey, neon-y kind of colour, and it looked terrible with this hoodie. So I have swapped my beer choice to not clash with my Bad Kitty hoodie. So I'm going for a Yuzu and Sorachi IPA from the same brewery, Pomona Island from Salford, who are one of my favourite breweries at the moment. I've loved pretty much every beer I've had from them. So yeah, that's me today.
And what's the connection to bank holiday?
Like I said, it was supposed to be a low ABV, easy drinking sour, and then I changed my mind. So the connection to the bank holiday is that it is a British bank holiday day today. I am cold and I want it to be cosy, and I've picked it to match my hoodie.
Good. I like it.
I think, James, I think that we tried that on the podcaster meetup episode. I've got a feeling we've tried that before. And
yeah, that sounds familiar.
The name of the beer is somebody's daughter's name or something that's to do with one of the brewers.
Yeah.
Could be wrong, but that
Gaz's
looks
daughter,
familiar.
Ibuki.
Yeah. It has been released before, Adam. You're right
It's
on that.
very good. So I hope you enjoy it, Laura.
5, this one.
Oh, maybe it's her birthday. There we go.
Well, it was exactly a year ago, because it did flash up the other day that a year ago I was putting the finishing touches to the first podcast meetup that we did at Sheffield Technology Park, so it would all fit. So yeah, it will be exactly a year on then that they've re-released it. Cool. All right then. Sean, what have you gone for, and what is your bank holiday connection?
Have we had any homebrew at all so far on any of these? I didn't think we had, and so I regularly get homebrew treats from lovely customers, and I've gone for a homebrew from a commercial brewer. This is from Dan Bartram, who lives in a little village called Darfield, not far away from where we live. And I dropped him some beers off last week, and he always has a few home brews ready to hand back as little gifts. So I've gone for one of those, and a little bit like Laura, despite all the beautiful weather over the last 4 weeks, I've gone with something which would fit more typical with a British bank holiday of cold and wind and rain. So I've gone for a coffee porter. So I thought that that was more relevant to a normal British bank holiday weather. The name of it is Silent Alarm. Silent Alarm. And he does a lovely little tag with all his own brews. Tells you what the style is, what the name is, when it was bottled. And I've had beers from Dan before, and they're always excellent. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Name of the first Block Party album, Silent Alarm. I wonder if there's any connection.
Was it? I've also got a bonus a bit of info with this one. We were cleaning out our kitchen drawers about a week ago, one of the lockdown things. I found a second.
Oh God, throw it away. Just put it straight in the bin.
So I'm going to keep mine, and we need to decide what to do with this.
I think it should be a listener giveaway.
I think it should go in the bin.
the team can win this in some way, or I was thinking with Adam that this beautifully designed bottle opener, which is useless for its main purpose, very, 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 very pretty nonetheless.
Like a crab, doesn't it?
It actually does. It's like a silhouette at the moment on Sean's screen. Just to explain for anyone that's listening to the podcast version, not the video version of this, you will have heard us in pretty much every episode that we do make reference to Sean's bottle opener that he brings with him that is lovely, but completely incapable of actually opening any bottles at all. But Sean persists in attempting to open bottles. It actually extends most episodes by about 10 minutes because the amount of time it takes for Sean to try and open the many and varied bottles that we've got. He's doing that now. Right, we'll move on. Adam, what have you got this week?
I have gone for another donated beer from a local brewery, Heist Brew Co, who are kind of in a bit of a limbo at the minute. Once based in sort of Clown near Chesterfield, but now moving to Kelham Island. But during that period of them kind of getting set up, we've had all this situation. So still producing beers by the looks of it, or at least they've got some in can. But this one is their Triple Fruiter Goes. So I thought that's a very kind of nice summery bank holiday kind of beer you want to get your hands on. And I'm also interested in calling it Triple Fruiter Goes is very brave because the masters of the Triple Fruiter Goes are now a favourite North Brew Co. I want to see how this compares. So it has blackberry, blackcurrant, and raspberry, 5.7%. So thanks, guys, for sending us some beers, and I hope this one's a good one.
Yeah, and they are they're kind of finding their niche as making quite unusual beers as well, aren't they? Heist. They did send us all a fantastic care package this week that's got some real crackers in it, and there's definitely one of them that I'm going to save for a future episode. But they sound really, really, really good. All right, cool. So I reckon I could have gone right with moonshine because my local was the Les Car, great beer garden, and Les Car means moonshine. That was pretty much the only beer that I drank when I was in my local. But I've moved, so that doesn't really work anymore. So my local is now the Stag. So I wanted to go for something from Thornbridge, who also very kindly sent us a care package this week, so some great beers from Thornbridge. I mentioned in January on Stag. Very good. Yeah. Sure. Any excuse to mention his stupid bottle opener from Sean. I mentioned in the January episode that my favourite brewery at the moment, and probably my favourite brewery of all last year, was North Brew Co. So this is absolutely ideal. So it is a collaboration between Thornbridge and North. It's called Northbridge. It took Adam a few days to realise where that name comes from, and I thought it's kind of not rocket science, this one. It's not the cleverest name that they've ever gone for. So Northbridge, it's described as a mountain IPA, and I think it's kind of like it's somewhere in between kind of like an East Coast and a West Coast style beer, so mountain kind of matches that. It's 7.2%. The can is absolutely beautiful. I almost feel bad opening this and drinking the beer that's in it because the can is just a work of art. It's so pretty.
It's like the Yellow Moo ones, isn't it? Where they did like the patterns half and half, so it's like the when they did the Magic Rock collaboration. So you got half the
that side. You've got all the North stuff, and then that side you've got all the Thornbridge stuff. So yeah, really looking forward to this, and a big thank you to Thornbridge for sending this out. I also have, by the way, my Thornbridge glass, which is you can't really see what it says. It's all the different names of Thornbridge beers around it. This could also double up as a murder instrument. It is that heavy. Anyone that's got one of these glasses will know this bit. This is not normal glass at the bottom. This is made out of something else, because if you hit someone with that, they've got no chance. It's a killer of a glass.
Interestingly, I think Simon said that they're the ones they use in Europe, because I think it's like a funny measurement. It's a funny it's either 400 ml or 440, so it fits like a camera. It's got that really like weighted bottom on it. I know because I've got one as well, but it's a really good
I think it's for 400 ml, so it's really good for three. Unfortunately, the can is 440, so it's not going to fit. Well,
have a little.
This is a problem that I reckon I can cope with.
Just to defend Adam, when I saw the name of that beer, I realised that it was called North because North were involved, but I couldn't for the life of me understand why they'd called it Bridge, North Bridge.
So obvious, isn't it?
It's now easily explained.
Oh dear, there's no hope for us, is there? As a
Better than Thornbrew.
Thornbrew. Dear, oh dear. Right then, our guest this week is Mark Gannon. So Mark is a big beer drinker. What else can I tell you about Mark that I know? Mark works for Sheffield Council. Little known fact that you won't know. So we've had a few records recently. So Sean had the most expensive beer that we've had 2 weeks ago. I had the cheapest beer that we've ever had last week, which cost 99p. Mark holds the record for the most number of appearances on the Sheffield Digital podcast, which you've not listened to before, is excellent and well worth giving a go to. So there is a little known fact about Mark Gannon. And that is a great introduction, I think.
It's a brilliant introduction. I feel a bit like, like Courtney Cox being pulled up out of the audience in the Bruce Springsteen video for Dancing in the Dark. That's what I feel like today. I've been listening to this podcast for ages, and it's quite exciting to be on it, actually.
Good stuff.
Oh, welcome.
Well, it's great to have you. Thank you. What have you got for beer-wise?
Well, this is probably my favourite brewery. I've probably had every single beer they've ever produced, and I've gone for the latest St. Mars one, the Urchin Brun, which is a Belgian brown. It's I did a test run earlier just to see what it was like. It's really nice actually, and a bit like Laura and Adam. My bank holiday link is the crap weather. And it's really nice and soothing. It's got a kind of a nice sweet orange taste, which just kind of, it's very, very subtle, but yeah, really, really nice. So I got my essential package from them yesterday.
I picked one of those up yesterday, actually. We went on a walk down to Kellam Island and happened upon Kellam Deli, which I've not been in before. It's just off the ring road, not far from where the shipping is. Yeah, just behind the bookshop. Absolutely fantastic little shop. Really, really lovely beer selection. Loads of local stuff. And then I got a beer from White Hag, which is an Irish brewery as well, from there. And Bargee shop, Bargee. So I was very happy to have found that shop. But yeah, I've got one of the Urchin Brun in the fridge.
Very nice.
Obviously, last week we had Dan from St. Mars of the Desert on, and it was almost like I felt guilty for any of us actually saying anything. I think we should have just given the entirety of the episode to Dan last week and just said, here's 40 minutes, Dan, talk about your beer, please. Because, yeah, I mean, I think everything about their story, and I love listening to Dan talk about anything to do with beer. So if anyone hasn't listened to that, it's worth going back to last week's episode and having a listen. By the way, Adam, I have noticed your beer is a most fantastic colour.
Yeah, I've taken a photo actually.
Oh wow!
That looks stunning,
wouldn't it?
Yeah, very good.
There is no messing with that. I also feel that the Thornbridge, Northbridge, is an excellent colour for a beer as well. I'm happy with that. I thought I've seen a couple of pictures of the St. Mars before, and I thought it was a lot darker than I thought it was going to be. That is it Urchin?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's really dark.
Yeah. It's not very thick. It's quite easy to drink. It's 5.6, which is, I normally start about 6 and move upwards from there. But yeah, 5.6. It's nice, and yeah, I also got some of the Bosco Bell as well. They did another batch of that yesterday.
Yeah, I've got one of those in the fridge as well.
This doesn't taste exactly. It smells exactly like Florida Vice. So if you've had that, it's got exact same smell. I mean, it's got raspberry in it, and that's a raspberry kind of beer. It's different taste completely, but something you might be able to kind of understand if you've had that beer. So yeah, it's good.
How's yours, Sean, after you had to do your daily exercise to get in it?
It's absolutely beautiful. Yeah. Dan is a brewer at Acorn. When I first met him, a brewer working somewhere else, desperate to get into the beer scene and brewing scene, and so managed to hook up with Acorn and he's a brewer there. We've got a couple of their brewers live very locally to us, and both of them homebrew. And so I've got beers from both of them in the fridge currently. So lovely, smooth, and really, really warming feel to it. Not overly. I'm not a massive coffee fan, so that's perfect for me. It's got a sort of creamy coffee flavour rather than the over sort of bearing burnt roastiness that you can get sometimes. Lovely.
While we're on the homebrew thing, I don't know if anybody wants to kind of just look back at a few weeks ago when we put out a tweet about where people were getting their beers from. Didn't mention it last week, but quite interesting that a lot of the replies that were on the not bottle shop, not brewery delivery or supermarket, a lot of people were talking about, supping homebrew and stuff, and or producing their own homebrew. I mean, it was just to go back, there was like 262 votes, so cheers for that. But 27% said they were getting beers from local bottle shops. 46% said they were getting direct from brewery. 18% from supermarkets, and 8% was the other. But a lot of the comments to say was about kind of, it was probably people saying, I'll do a bit of both. But there were quite a bit of noise about, homebrew. I don't know what everyone thinks about that.
I can probably count in dozens the number of customers that we have that also homebrew. And the most success, there's a homebrew club in Sheffield, certainly. I might have mentioned before the other homebrew club that we have a bit of association with is the one up at Penistone. Jeff Varley and all his team meet up at Penistone Church, and 3 of them are commercial brewers, but also home brewers as well. But I think it's a quieter part of the modern craft beer scene that there are lots of homebrew clubs, and they're so supportive and kind and generous towards each other and other people within their immediate field. So I think it's something that bubbles along quietly within the modern craft beer scene, but I think is a real fantastic scene in the UK, definitely.
Yeah, back in Christmas, it's probably no secret that we wanted to do an episode about homebrew, and obviously this is kind of the COVID stuff's kind of kicked our schedule out the door for the time being. But I did actually meet up with the guys from the Sheffield Homebrew Club after a day session in York, as they were doing their kind of meet-up in Sheffield Tap. I think I tried 3 or 4 of their beers, and they were absolutely fantastic. You wouldn't have, pulled that out of a font or, tap or anything at a pub, and you would have never thought that or anything more than a commercial, brew. And these things are very interesting. It was a 9% stuff, dark stuff, light stuff, IPAs, brilliant. And they were very accommodating, just let me just come and sit with them, half cut already after a day in York, and they were basically just feeding me drink. And I was thinking, I still got all my friends that are around the corner. I've just disappeared for just to, as a kind of say hello and polishing off these 9%ers after a full day on the.
I think it would be appropriate perhaps at this time to mention another Sheffield business that's been around for years now, and it is closely linked to the homebrew scene, and that's Brewmart at Woodseats.
Yeah, but Woodseats, yeah.
Yeah, they're still operating, very busy at the moment. Had a brief chat with them online about a week ago, and doing fantastic trade. And you can buy from them online as well, and their little shop there also. So they've been around for years, know what they're talking about, and anyone that's thinking of homebrewing in and around the Sheffield area, they'd be brilliant to go for advice, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, cool.
I feel a bit. Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I feel bad that I picked this beer to go with my cozy clothes because it tastes like liquid sunshine. It's absolutely fantastic. Really, really enjoying it. Huge Sorachi hit, but leaves behind a really zesty, lemony, citrusy, lovely flavors. Yuzu and Sorachi, I think. It's really great.
Good. Yeah, I remember it being like the Sorachi and with the sort of slightly sourness or the fruit, the citrusy thing really works really well.
It's 7%, but it's really, really easy to drink as well. So.
Yeah, that was when we had it was when we picked out about 8 different beers, didn't we? And every single one of them was actually really, really good. We expected one to be a bit of a dud, but they were all brill. And that one particularly stood out, didn't it, as a real good one.
Yep.
Sorry, Sean, what were you saying?
Brass Castle brewer beer, of course, called Sunshine. So it ties in nicely with your hoodie as well. And I think Brass Castle are a brewery actually that go under the radar a little bit. Obviously, they're big in the gluten-free scene, but I think they're a fantastic brewery and not always one that sort of people mention and recognise when talking about favourite breweries. But Sunshine's a favourite of mine. Bad Kit is a favourite of mine as well. They're a very talented team, very good.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Just to echo what was said
cool
earlier
logos
about,
as well. If you turn it upside down, it's still.
It says the same thing both way around, so that is very cool. I was just going to say, just to echo what was said earlier on about Sheffield Homebrew Club.
I don't know, there's a name for that.
We'd kind of been working with them to come up with an idea to do an episode with them that was going to be great, but kind of current situation has put paid to all that, so that's a bit of a shame. Also, that survey really interested about the number of people that are buying beer direct from breweries, because I think we touched on last week about kind of how fortunate we are in Sheffield. There are so many different places to be getting good beer from still, which leads me, Mark, to kind of ask you about your sort of experience as a beer drinker during lockdown and how you've kind of found it and survived, I guess.
I mean, sort of lots of direct purchases. So I mean, I've discovered the joy of the mini keg actually. Lockdown. I'd kind of it had never occurred to me to even secure a mini keg and have it in my conservatory. I've actually got two at the minute. I've got a mini keg of Jaipur and a mini keg of Heathen, and then I've got a fridge full of St. Mars. Basically, my purchases have been either deliveries from Sean and his gang from Beer Central, or essential journeys to Turner's bottle shop to fill up there. And they've got, they've got amazing stock in there at the minute. Actually, they've got some amazing beers. So from my perspective, I've got no problem in getting the beers I want. I tend to go for quite strong, quite resinous. When I put it in a glass, if I can see my fingers the other side of the glass, then it's not quite a beer for me. I like it quite strong and quite resinous. But yeah, and obviously St. Mars going and picking up every couple of weeks from there the new batches that they produce. It's quite nice actually to have that direct relationship with the brewery, and actually get to know the brewers actually. So spent a lot of time at St. Mars with speaking to Dan and Martha. And as you said, last week it was great to listen to Dan, and the story is fantastic, and they're just really nice folks. So it's always enjoyable to go and support those local businesses that especially at the minute it must be a real struggle, but obviously the business model for a lot of those breweries is changing, or has had to change overnight, which I know you've discussed in the last few episodes. So I did reach a point a couple of weeks ago where I'd kind of my logistics operation, my personal logistics operation had failed, and I'd almost run out of beer, and I made sure that was never going to happen again. So I've got my arrangements sorted now. So
I like that. That's quite inspirational. The fact that you've got the mini kegs and then a fridge full of beer as well, just to be on the safe side. There's no point taking risks in this situation. It's better to be safe than to be sorry. I completely agree with you, by the way, about how see-through or otherwise a beer is as a measure of how good it is. Me and my friend I think it was actually at Sheffield Beer Festival a couple of years ago, came up with a scale starting with water was 0 and a stout was 5, and a scale of where beers kind of fit. This one from Thornbridge would be a good probably 3.8 on that scale. I have to say as well, It is absolutely superb. This is a tremendous beer, and it does exactly what it says it's going to do, because you've got those elements of, you can really taste the hoppiness to it, and it's got a bitterness there, but then it's got a real softness as well. It is fantastic. Very, very good beer. It doesn't need to be 7.2%. I think it's a beer that could work a little bit less, but I'm glad that it is, because it gives it just a bit of a bite. It's a beer that you want to savor rather than a beer that you want to just kind of down. And I'm very impressed. Lovely.
Yeah, it's very nice. I had my second one last night. My first one, I was a bit worried because I was getting a weird flavour. And I was, sometimes you drink something before and it really just throws the flavour of your next beer off. I think basically that happened with that beer on my first can. So I was like, no. But I had one last night and it was bang on, really good. It is a strange beer actually, because I'm a big West Coast fan and I'm a big kind of the newer style, like East Coast stuff. So it I don't think it's for everyone, because it does have that kind of, some things are kind of fighting for each other. You get that quite sharp bitterness from like the West Coast side of it, but then like a more like a softer mouthfeel to it. But on the second can, I was really, really, really enjoying that.
Is there a reason? Is there a reason it's called a mountain IPA other than perhaps
that's what's in middle of America? I don't know.
The Rocky Mountains are in between the east and west coast.
I assume that it doesn't really say anything on the back of the can or anything relating to. Because I thought that as well.
Well, you get mountain time as well, don't you? So there's central time and mountain time. So mountain time is kind of the top but middle bit of the United States, I think. So it's like it's got its own time zone. Although I think mountain time is the same as central time. It's just got a different name because they're a bit weird up there. So I guess it's just to indicate, central IPA doesn't sound as exciting as mountain IPA, does it? It's just to kind of indicate that it falls like in the middle of the country, I guess, kind of in between the two different styles.
Yeah. I haven't tried that one yet, but I did have a can of the Pondera, the Firestone Walker collab, which is West Coast IPA that Thornbridge sent us as well. And it was honestly like one of those beers that I drank it and I haven't tasted anything like it since I was actually in California. I thought it was absolutely stunning. So I think, and is that one of the ones that you can get in supermarkets?
Yeah, you can get it in Morrison's.
Yeah,
£3.
Just to give a little bit of a shout out to that as well. Probably my favourite beer that I've had this week. So big thank you to Thornbridge for those as well.
Just before me and Deborah had a can each last night and thought, fantastic, fantastic beer. Sorry, James.
Just to give them another thumbs up, the Jamestown in cans, which is another beer which I had actually had before they sent us some, but it has changed a bit because it's lower strength. It's the same strength as the Jaipur now, and I think when they had it on keg, it was high 6s, 6.6, I think. That is scarily sessionable in can at 5.9. It's very good. I would say it's like a turbocharged kind of Green Mountain. A little bit lighter in the kind of colour. It's not quite, but yeah, really, really, really good. It was kind of a beer I wasn't 100% sure on the first time round. So like actually having it in can and it being slightly different changed my mind completely. It's great. And I think there's another one they're doing in the 4-pack kind of bundles as well, like the Tripoders as well. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, really good.
All I was going to say is just before we move on from kind of talking about All Matters Thornbridge, they have given us an exclusive discount code as well for our listeners. So if you use the code Hopcast15, so Hopcast15, you'll get 15% off any pick and mix beers that you buy through the Thornbridge website. And you definitely want one of these in your selection because it's superb. Right, good stuff. There's much else going on this week. Now, what I did notice was something that launched a couple of days ago, which is this new Sheffield Survival Box, which I think has actually been organised by the guys from Heist Brewery that you're drinking, Heist Craft, which involves various different kind of local breweries and other kind of independent manufacturers of things like snacks and food and stuff like that, which they brought together, which is a fantastic idea. And I love the idea of doing something that supports all the sort of independents at a time when they may well be struggling, some more than others. So I think tremendous to be doing something that kind of supports those. So I thought that was really, really good. Big thumbs up for that idea. Is there anything else happening at the moment? I have got one other thing that I kind of need to touch on, but it can wait until the end.
The Sheffield Survival Box, I was slightly confused by it in terms of, is it just a short-term venture on its own? Is it something that's got a long-term idea to it? I know Abbeydale are involved, I think, Laura, are they?
So definitely
you might know a little bit
yeah.
more than me.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, to be honest. I think it's a sort of collaborative venture, but yeah, because Heist, I believe, are in Triple Point at the moment using their kit. Is that right?
I think there was a Triple Point can in there as well, actually, thinking about it.
Yeah,
so
and I know there's St. Mars in there as well. So yeah, I'm not particularly clear on how it's actually working, but I do think it's really nice to see kind of the variety of local producers being available in it. And that's one thing that I've been seeing a bit more of as well over the past few weeks, that other breweries have kind of teamed up with other companies. Like I know Donzoko up in the northeast have teamed up with a local, I think it's a salami and ham producer or something like that. So you can get a box of their beers with some charcuterie in it. Me and Jim have placed an order from Fine Ales this week, which we've got a beer box and a venison box. So they're doing meat from their farm. And I'm sure there are lots of others that aren't just meat focused as well. But yeah, I just really like that idea of local companies collaborating. That isn't, we see a lot of brewery collaborations, but it is fantastic to see breweries and other independent producers working together, I think, to bring something.
I was looking on the website last night at the survival box. Actually, you can get a 300 quid survival box if you want. Now, I don't know how. I mean, that's obviously for people that are very pessimistic as to how long the lockdown is going to last. But yeah, I saw it as a kind of a way to sustain some of those smaller local businesses during this period where actually they're not getting custom through the door. I think there's some of the companies from like Cutlery Works, like the was it Bouillon that does the chocolate? I think that was one of the companies. So there was quite an interesting mix of things. There was, crisps and chocolates and coffee and beer. So it was, I thought it was quite a nice idea actually. I mean, it's interesting. I think the whole lockdown thing is really quite rapidly changing how people consume things, and I think for better actually. Whether it's a long-lasting change to the way the economy works, I don't know, but I think it's definitely got people thinking much more about local producers and how to support them. So I think if that can be one of the positive side of this period, I think that can only be a good thing.
I imagine that the was it 200-300 pound survival box is probably meant to last like a few weeks or something. I'd be fairly certain I could smash that in a weekend. I think that could be a weekend's entertainment. That
from the picture on the website of the 300 pound box, I was thinking that's not going to last me more than 2 weeks max. Oh yeah,
I think my initial thoughts on it was it felt a little bit expensive, but I think that maybe its market maybe is like a kind of a lockdown gifting kind of service. I mean, there's plenty of things that people bundle together and you think, do you know what, if I bought those all individually, that might be a bit cheaper. But, if people can't get out, maybe they're not quite accustomed to, what local breweries or where to get them, or like locally sourced, maybe I can't remember exactly what was in there in the gift, in the non-alcohol thing. But, maybe if that dropped on the doorstep of someone who weren't expecting it, maybe a £25, £35 little gift is probably quite a nice thing to receive if they're maybe struggling a bit mentally or physically or not be able to get out. I think it feels like more accustomed to that to me, because I think if those individually, I could probably get them in my my normal kind of. I would know where to kind of source those things. So
have you got my address, Adam?
Your address? You're all right, mate. I'll send you something.
I'll smoky bacon crisps.
Yeah.
You could do that, Sean. You could add to your thrifty 50 a little some crisps and some chocolate, couldn't you?
We're in the market. We're obviously. I nearly said working alongside, but we're obviously not. But we're working in close proximity to other traders. But it's fruit and veg and a bit of fish and things like that. So I didn't think it was quite a natural fit. And to be honest, we're already too busy to cope anyway in terms of the beer delivery. So I've got no space for anything else to be delivered, unfortunately. So it's beer and cider now.
So on that, very briefly, I think a Waterall's pork pie is one of the things that, like a proper pork pie, is one of the things that I just really want. Something I'm really missing, and proper fish and chips as well, like from a good chippy. And they're the things that I haven't been able to get, that I'm kind of, I know it's a very small problem to have, but they're the things that I'm like, I really want those things and can't get them.
Well, Laura, actually, yesterday, Laura, I had to go into Hillsborough for to go to Boots, because our family suffer from hay fever quite badly. Not me, but then across the road from Boots is the is it Beres or Bears, and that was open, and I went in and got a massive pork pie. And I don't think they're quite Wateralls, but
Laura, Steve Waterall, the owner of Wateralls, I dropped him off just over a week ago, some Wanderer and some Voyager, and he loves the big hoppy beers. That Wanderer is a phenomenal beer, by the way, and he gave me a couple of pork pies in exchange for that. So perhaps you need to be steaming in. Get down Kellam Island to Wateralls, and they've got 2 people working, and pork pies are exchanged for beer down there, definitely.
All right, three things I've got to say here. One is that it's become very apparent that Sean gets a lot of gifts. You get a lot of stuff given to you, right? For Laura's benefit, Two Steps Chip Shop, big up to them. That's still open on Charravale Road. So if you're after proper fish and chips, it's a 1 in, 1 out thing. In fact, it's not even 1 in. It's just like they've moved the counter so that you have to queue on the street and you just go up to like the where the door has become the counter. But yeah, they're open every day as far as I believe. And Wanderer would have been, if we were still doing traditional format and we had to pick a beer of the month for March, Wanderer would have been my beer of the month for March, because I think that was an absolutely superb example of a beer. And what was the other thing that I was going to say? Oh, but we can't even think about ending this podcast until Laura shows us the other side of her hoodie, because I have had a sneak preview of this. But you need to see the back of
Laura?
it.
Yeah, I'm just sat in my bed.
It's going to be really awkward, isn't it? Sorry.
Yeah, wait.
Ooh.
There we go.
Wow.
Is that it? Am I in?
Yeah,
just about.
You're in.
Up a bit. Very good.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's a cracking hoodie, that. I think it's a cracking hoodie.
It is one of my favourite beer items of clothing, of which I have many, as you've probably gathered by now.
So then the only other thing that we've got to discuss is next week. So I've come up with an idea for a theme for next week, and I mean, you guys know me fairly well, so you could probably even guess what this theme's going to be. Yeah. So next Saturday, we are recording next Saturday actually, so we're doing it a day earlier than usual. Next Saturday should be Eurovision. Of course, it's not actually happening this year, but that is our theme for next week. It is Eurovision. So that's quite open. So it could be European brewery, could be European style. Australia are in Eurovision, so an Australian style beer. European hops. It can be whatever you want. It just needs to have a link to Eurovision.
Amazing.
James, what about having 2 beers and then trying to make him my mind up?
You just carry on playing with your bottle opener, Sean.
It's wrapped back up. Somebody's getting this as a gift.
Right, are we doing this? Are we gonna? Is this going to be up for grabs? It's basically.
This is it.
You'll pay a couple of quid postage, won't you, Sean? We'll reimburse
I will definitely. Yeah, I might even deliver it with 50-50.
So what's the task then? We need some sort of.
Well, why don't we link it to our theme for next week? So we'll all come up with our best beers linked to Eurovision. If you want to take part, then come up with your own. Send us a tweet that's got your beer in it and how it links to Eurovision. And between us next Saturday, we'll come up. We'll decide on the best, and we'll send them the world's worst bottle opener in the post. And you can do whatever you want with it except for opening bottles, because it just can't do it. Did you actually get it to do it before, Sean? Did you manage to open the bottle with it, or did you use a different one?
No, I did manage. And interestingly, James, I was given this by the Wild team at DAG in Sheffield.
Are you using it wrong? Are we just looking at it? It's is the horns decorative?
I don't think I am using it wrong, but can't really be bothered to try and work out how to use it right. So
it's not actually a bottle opener, Sean. It's the keys to the brewery.
Keyring.
It locks the doors.
Yeah,
just a keyring of their logo. Maybe it is.
It's a bottle opener.
Maybe it's just a keyring of their logo. Maybe it isn't a bottle opener.
It might not be.
I would love that.
It sounds better as a present, as a winning gift, if we call it a bottle opener and key ring. So
I'm doubting it's even a bottle
double
opener.
whammy. For the lucky winner is getting a double whammy.
It's nice looking, isn't it? I'd like it on my keys, but I won't try and open a bottle with it.
Yeah.
Right then, before we go, last words on the beers. Full marks to Northbridge. As I said earlier, thank you to Thornbridge for sending us some beer. If any other breweries want to send us some beer for us to use on the Hopcast, feel free. And I don't want to kind of drop any particular hints to any breweries, so there's no pressure. But if any breweries want to drop us a line this week, then that would be absolutely tremendous and very welcome. Adam, any last thoughts on the Heist Triple Fuchsia Goza? Does it live up to the North series?
It's drier. It's got like a drier kind of mouthfeel on the finish. It's fruity but drier, if you know what I mean. You know, sometimes you get that kind of, I know it's not really a stone fruit kind of ingredient thing, but you get that kind of slightly more of that kind of more like not as sweet. Really nice. It's gone. It's disappeared. Yeah, really refreshing. Nice, clean.
Sean, enjoyed the homebrew?
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I can't see any more. Smooth as you like. Really delicious.
And Laura, Pomona Island doing the trick for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, very happy with that and looking forward to my Yuzu table beer even more now, actually. So, yeah, really, really good.
I love their really minimalistic can designs as well. I think they're really good at creating something that's just really subtle and does the trick really well. And Mark, any final words on the St. Mars?
Yeah, it's very nice, very delicious, and I really like the can design. It's got a little hedgehog on there. I don't know if you've seen that.
It's very cute.
It's very cute.
Very cute.
I think their label designs are improving each time. So, but yeah, very nice. I'm going to have some clamp after this, though.
Oh, no.
Also excellent beer. By the way, if you're wondering why we seem to be rambling on longer than usual, it's because, unbeknown to me, Zoom have removed my 40-minute limit.
He's finally got it.
So normally we get the half-hour warning and we're like, right, we need to wrap this up. And that's not happened, so we've just been rambling along. So I also feel like I've probably left this too late because everyone's finished the beer, but we also need to do our beer photo. So if you've got any beer left in your glass, then please hold it up. But otherwise, cans up there as well.
I mean, I was saving some for Jim, but I'm just going to have some more.
Yeah, go on, whack it in.
So, sorry, why am I putting that down?
Come on, all together. Big smiles. There we go. That's our beer selfie sorted. Yes, thank you very much. Mark, thank you for joining us. And we will be back next week where we might actually have some news about kind of what's going to happen with timescale for pubs and stuff reopening. It's probably not far away actually in terms of announcement coming from Boris. So we will be back and we'll discuss that next week, and we'll enjoy some Eurovision themed beers. All right, we'll see you then. Thank you. Goodbye.
Cheers, everyone.
Yeah.